So I'm a liberal and I'm anti-gun, but I'm not trying to take people's guns away because I have the right to not carry a gun, and somebody else has the right to carry a gun. It's like the second one, you know? It's like we got a bunch of rights and this is the second one. So, but at the same time, thoughts and prayers aren't working, you know, which is why I wanted us to do this video where we talked about, okay, what can we really do? Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Faith.
And we are Mommy Drinks Politics,
where we drink
and talk politics. So today we want to talk about gun violence. If you have been watching the news, chances are you've seen that there have been a lot of mass shootings lately. Recently, my daughter went back to school and she asked me for a bulletproof backpack because they sell those now. Which is crazy. And I was thinking, should we get her a bulletproof backpack? But then I thought, well, I don't want her to have a false sense of security, and just the fact that now there's a question in my mind, should I buy my daughter the bulletproof backpack or not, is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think we do to stop gun violence?
So this is a whole big issue. Obviously,
yes,
pretty divisive, lots of strong feelings on both sides. So I do have strong feelings.
Okay, great. Let them out.
Okay. First of all, I think it's a heart issue.
I agree. I totally agree.
So the weapon is kind of, it's not that it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But even places where you have very strong gun laws and guns are banned, they still have lots of murder. Because you know who doesn't follow laws?
The
lawbreakers.
You sound just like my husband. But I will say, I've lived places where even the cops didn't have guns, and which I know to Americans sounds totally absurd. But I've lived places where the cops didn't have guns, and they had way less gun violence than what we have. But I do agree with you. I don't think it's not necessarily something that you can totally legislate away. I agree with you. It's a heart issue, but keep going.
Okay. So, and then that brings me to my next thing, that your comment about the police officers in America. Like, mostly on the left, you hear people say, well, we just want police officers to have guns.
Okay.
They're the only ones who are qualified.
None of those people are black. None of those people. Sorry. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So, but you're right. We have a saying in the right gun community, when you need help, when seconds count, cops are just minutes away.
Gotcha.
So we think it's personal responsibility, being able to protect yourself, your family, being able to openly carry a weapon. Because like right now in Texas, you can openly carry a long gun, like a rifle or an AK-47 without a license.
Yes.
You cannot carry a
handgun.
Pistol. Right, a handgun. Which makes no sense to me. One seems much more alarming, like if you're going to walk into a store with it. Okay. And the other one is like, this is for me. This is for my family.
I think that's why you can't open carry, or why you can't open carry a long gun, because a long gun is much more alarming, where it's seen, as opposed to a pistol. It's so easy to hide it. So if you had nefarious intentions that you wanted to hide, it'd be more difficult to hide it if you were carrying a long gun, as it occurs to me.
Okay.
And that's just a random point to start.
It's like there may be some logic in that, but to me, I think especially now when you have these images of someone walking into a school or a store with, you know, the AKs and they're mowing down people, you have good guys with guns coming out and saving people.
Yes.
So in my mind, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun
is a good guy with a gun. I hear you. I've heard that so many times. The good guy with a gun. You know, what's really crazy to me is this is the first year that I would not go buy school supplies at Walmart. I wouldn't go out and buy school supplies. I was scared. And I think that's really sort of crazy to live in America and be afraid to go out and buy school supplies. So, but okay, so what I think I heard you say is the solution to gun violence is good guys with guns.
Get more people to have guns.
More people?
Educate them.
So, okay, so do you know the statistic for how many guns there are per person in Texas?
I don't, do you?
I'll look it up. I'll Google it and put it in here. But it's gotta be at least like anywhere from 3 to 10. I don't even know how many guns we have in my house. Like, we got way too many. Well, okay, so anyway, it's something different. But we have way more guns than people. So is it like 10 guns per person is the answer, or 20 guns per person is the answer?
So the people who own guns, are they carrying them? And are they doing training on how to be responsible with them and how to protect and defend the people surrounding them? Because they have trainings for all that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I think everybody should do that if they're serious about protecting their family and their community and their schools.
Yeah. So why do you think that we only need guns to handle the crazy people who are doing mass shootings? Like, is that why we need more? Or
an armed society is a polite society.
Gotcha.
I think you get less violence if you know that whatever force you are willing to put out there is going to be equally met. If that makes sense.
What about like Norway and like all of those Scandinavian and those Northern European countries where nobody carries guns and everybody's extremely happy and fit?
I don't know. That's not the world I live in.
Yeah, happy and fit. So it occurs to me that we've had this issue now for a decade and a half, the school shooting issue. And it occurs to me that the right is always like, we need more guns. And it occurs to me that the left is always like, let's take everyone's guns away. And it occurs to me that both the politicians on the right and the politicians on the left know that those aren't real answers. That neither one of those is going to fix the problem, but they say it to keep us fighting each other. So that they can continue to take money from the gun lobbyists and whoever else the liberals are taking money from. But I wholeheartedly believe that both sides knows that neither one of those options is real in this country. Like, I'm as anti-gun as you can get, but I know that in the United States of America, we are not going to take people's guns away. Nothing is going to start a civil war in the US of A, like trying to take people's guns. It would never happen. So I understand that this country has a history with its firearms, a history of just love and adoration for its firearms, and that there's a comfort and a security that Americans feel when they have firearms with them, and that's not going to go away. So I'm a liberal and I'm anti-gun, but I'm not trying to take people's guns away because I have the right to not carry a gun, and somebody else has the right to carry a gun. It's like the second one, you know? It's like we got a bunch of rights and this is the second one. So, but at the same time, thoughts and prayers aren't working, you know, which is why I wanted us to do this video where we talked about, okay, what can we really do? So I agree with you that it's a heart issue. And I think it's difficult to legislate heart issues. But so I think about when I was young. When I was young, there were no school shootings, ever. The first school shooting was Columbine, and I don't know how old I was, but I was an adult by then. But society has changed so much since I was young. Like when I was young, most people had a mom and a dad, and they'd come home and the mom would still be there to make whatever, dinner or after school snack or whatever, and help with homework. And my mom actually worked sometimes, so I was a latchkey kid. And just the fact that there was a term called latchkey kid that was like negative, like, oh my God, there are these poor kids and their mom's not home when they get home. It was like, that was like a phenomenon in society, like a negative phenomenon, where if you got home from school and your mom wasn't there, that it was looked upon negatively. So I just say all that to say, I grew up in a society where there were more two-parent families. But not only that, it wasn't just two-parent families, there were more community families. So I grew up around 5 gajillion cousins, aunts, uncles, grandmas, uncles. I had a really big community, like a huge community. I grew up in church, and I knew that if I ever did anything wrong ever, I was going to disappoint not only my family, but my third cousin's grandmother would be disappointed in me. And she would tell me.
They were going to hear about it.
Everybody was going to hear about it. I mean, and my teachers were friends of my parents. So, because I was a small community, and that's how it works. So if I did anything at school, my parents trusted my teachers, and my teachers were invested in me. And my success, and there was a community where I knew I couldn't get away with anything. And one time I thought about stealing, okay? Like, I wanted the swimsuit and I couldn't afford it, and so I was gonna steal it. So I went into Kmart to steal it, and I put it on and covered it with my clothes, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna steal this. And so I was about to leave the store, and I realized, oh my God, if I steal this swimsuit, like, everybody I know is going to be so disappointed in me. And like, I just couldn't do it. I like couldn't disappoint my entire family, my church, my neighborhood. I was like, oh my God, they're going to be so disappointed. So what does that have to do with gun violence? So community doesn't exist anymore. And community can sometimes exist in small scales, but when I was growing up, I knew every single person on my street. I knew their parents, I knew their grandparents, I knew all of them. And so because our communities don't exist anymore, people don't feel responsible, or that's not true. Kids, young people feel disconnected. They feel disconnected, and they take that disconnect out on society, and sometimes they take that disconnect out using firearms. And because I believe it is a heart issue, like you said, and it's an issue of disconnect, I don't think we can legislate. I don't think we can legislate it by saying you can have this kind of gun, you can't have this kind of gun, you can have this size magazine, you can't have this size magazine. I don't think that is the solution. So what do I think the solution is? I think it's a several point solution, but I think the first part is rebuilding our communities. And I actually think we can legislate the rebuilding of our communities. As strange as that sounds, I know you're small government, so I get that probably sounds weird to you, but I was looking at an HBO documentary about Norway. So I don't know if you follow Norway.
I do not.
But they're
not really popular right now.
What do they do?
I don't know.
Okay. But
be Norway.
So they're like one of the happiest countries on earth always. But not only that, but they're this tiny little country, and they won more gold medals than anyone else in the Winter Olympics. Why is that important? Because huge countries like the US, USSR, or I guess I can't say that anymore, Russia, China, they're always the ones that win. So how did Norway do this? And so they did it by building their communities through sport. So every child under the age of 16 has to play sports. They don't have to be good at it. They don't have to win. Honestly, they don't keep score. Like, it is illegal for them to even keep score at all until a child is 12 years old. But every child has to play some kind of sport, and they get to choose the sport, but they have to play sports. And their community is built around the sports. So it doesn't matter. And it's like Norway sports that we don't necessarily do here, like skiing and stuff. But still, but the community is built around the sports. So you're playing sports with your neighbors, and they become your friends, and it builds the community. And so the question is, okay, how do we pay for this? And so the way Norway does it is through gambling, which I think is amazing. Just stay with me here.
Okay, I'm trying.
So here in the U.S., gambling is forbidden in Major League sports. Mm-hmm. But in Norway, it's actually managed by the government. And which I know you're gonna hate. I know, it's okay. You can tell me how much you hate it.
These are interesting ideas. I'm listening.
So you bet on the sport, and when you lose, all your money goes to the community that you tell bookie, I don't know what they're called. The government bookie. You tell them that I want my money to go to community 6 if I lose. Even if you win, you can say, I won, but I want half my money to go to community 8. So you are actually gambling like in your community, and you get a say in where the money goes, and it helps build the community through sport. And just the kids are out having fun. And to me, it could help to solve the issue of the degradation of our communities. And I really believe that a huge part of gun violence, I think that's the one thing that we agree on, is that a huge part of gun violence is because of the degradation of our communities. Okay, what do you have to say about everything that I just said?
So that is all very interesting.
Yes.
So, yes, community first.
Yes.
Always. I think that is the solution for most problems in this world. And I'm all about it. I hate sports, all sports. There's none that I enjoy playing. There's very few.
Really? Have you never played sports, or you just never liked them?
I tried. I tried in 8th grade. I ran track for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I ran track too. But I bet the problem was that you were slower than everyone else.
And it was hot, and I was tired, and it was running.
And so that's why their whole thing in Norway is not, like I said, they can't even keep score until you're 12.
I didn't care about losing. I just didn't want to do it.
Gotcha. But if like all your friends were there and they were like cute boys.
Nah. I'm good.
But it doesn't matter. Like, it could be marching band. Like, you could
like air hockey.
Yeah, like that, anything. Like, as long as it's like a sport and you're playing it with friends and it's building the community, who cares really? It's about having fun. And it doesn't just solve the gun problem. It also solves the problem of childhood obesity. If every single kid has to play sports, yes. Well, even air hockey, you're on your feet. You are
doing the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, that's exercise. Let's be honest. Right now, most kids are laying on the couch, and their thumbs are getting exercise, and that's it. So, yeah. And I know you're like, I don't want the government to meddle in my life or my kid's life. I get that. But, do we just not do anything?
No, I think those are things that we can do as individuals, as nonprofits. Like, I think in my perfect world, it's all voluntary. We spend so much money on sports in general in our schools right now. Like, that is the focus of where the bond money goes, where our tax debt is for school stuff. It's all, indoor athletic facilities, and
they're getting a new one over at my daughter's school, so I'm very happy about that. But we could go more into like sports and why I'm really into sports at a later time.
Okay. It's a whole episode.
I know, it's like a whole different episode. But
that is an interesting concept. it's definitely built on like the right idea. I don't think I'm okay with the government controlling the gambling, free market gambling. Okay, you know, if you want to donate stuff, but I don't know.
So how do you think you fix the heart issue? So I think that was the first thing you said, is that it's a heart issue.
Yes. I think your answer is the right one. So I don't disagree with that.
Oh, you think community sports?
Not community sports. Community, period.
Gotcha.
So I think there's multiple ways you can build that community. You have some nonprofits who are trying to do that, Boys and Girls Club, and different nonprofits having after-school programs and things like this, where they're helping kids with their homework and they're teaching dance classes. My daughter wants to teach dance classes for kids after they get out of school. Building those connections for whatever they may be passionate about.
The challenge with the nonprofits is that the kid who's contemplating like shooting up the school right now, because you know there are a ton of them right now that are contemplating shooting up schools, that kid is alone. That kid is sitting at home alone right now. He's not at the Boys and Girls Club or in a community. And so when you do legislate that kids must participate in any kind of community, like even if it's not athletics, well, let's say it's gardening, like that way, like you have a choice. But
isn't that what they do in school though? Like, aren't they required to do some sort of not extracurricular, what do they call them? Maybe it's extracurricular. I was required to take theater in order to graduate.
I don't know, because my kids are all my kids have been involved in my kids, they say that they are music kids. So my daughter's in choir and in band, and my son's in orchestra. So I don't know if it's mandated. But
I think you have to have some sort of credits for extracurricular stuff.
But and that could be true, but that could be true in high school.
Oh,
Whereas you my daughter never had to do any of that before high school.
Gotcha.
But I think you get your connection to the community before high school. By the time you get in high school, it's too late. You're planning on leaving, you know? Like, I know I was like, 4 more years and I'm out, deuces, you know? And so I just think perhaps I think it needs momentum. Community building needs momentum. So perhaps at the beginning of it, it's mandated, and once it gets momentum, it's like, okay, it's got momentum, so we don't have to mandate it anymore. But I don't know. I just don't see another way where it happens. I think building community, step number 1, which I think you agree with.
I do.
We just don't agree on how to do it.
Right.
But just agreeing that it has to be done is a step. So you guys tell me what you think. Do you think building community is a big part of stopping gun violence? So building community is number 1. Number 2, we're probably going to disagree on this.